Hey everybody, today for this video I am in the Geist area. It's called the Geist District. Now if you thought Indiana was just 100% cornfields and bean fields and wheat fields, you'd be 100% wrong. There are several really large reservoirs around the Indianapolis area, and Geist happens to be the biggest, and it's extremely residential. So we're going to take a tour around Geist, see what it's like to live here, and see what it just looks like in general. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton and welcome back to the channel. If you want to know everything that there is to know about living in Indianapolis and the Indy Metro, then make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified every time we do a new video each and every week. Now we get calls and texts and reach outs from people all over the country and all over the Indy Metro looking to move within the Indy Metro and to Indianapolis and the surrounding areas. And we love it, absolutely love it. So if you're even thinking about making your move, then be sure that you reach out any way that you know how, and we've absolutely got your back when you're making your move. All right, so today, like I said, we're in the Geist District, which is actually a really large area in the Indy Metro. But if you're from here, you've lived here for quite a long time, and you talk to somebody and they say that they live in Geist, you know generally where they're talking about. But it could comprise really a number of different areas around the reservoir. It's absolutely huge. So first, a few facts just about Geist Reservoir in general. It's been around a long time, and if you drive by it or even fly over the top of it, it looks like a fairly natural reservoir, but it's not. It was actually the brainchild of a man named Clarence Geist, who used to own the Indianapolis Water Company back in the early 1900s. And Indianapolis gets its water supply, or at least it's used to, from two sources, the White River and Fall Creek. And in the early 1900s, he could see with the growth of Indianapolis that those weren't going to meet the needs as far as the water demand goes for Indianapolis. So he came up with this reservoir, and that's why it's named Geist Reservoir. So starting in the early 1900s, Clarence Geist and his water company began to buy up land in this area, just piece by piece. And actually there was even a town that was purchased called Germantown, and now it's really at the bottom of the reservoir. So again, it's a huge reservoir. Once all of the land was purchased to actually construct it, and it was actually finished in 1943, it's about 1,900 acres and holds over 6 billion gallons of water, and it's created by damming Fall Creek. And you can find the dam right at the south end of the reservoir. And the reservoir can be let down by letting water through that dam back into Fall Creek. Now there were plans initially to expand the reservoir and make it bigger than it is, but development started around the reservoir. So all of the residential neighborhoods, and there are a lot that surround Geist, really completely surround it now. So the reservoir is really locked, and it's not going to get any bigger at this point. So when you go around all 1,900 of those acres, you actually go through 3 different counties and 5 different zip codes. It spans Marion County, Hamilton County, and also Hancock County. So it covers a wide variety of locations and really some wide variety of topography too. So you can get homes out of all 36 neighborhoods that surround it, and then you have neighborhoods that, at least those are the neighborhoods that have waterfront property on it. But then you have neighborhoods just off of that that are still considered part of the Geist District. It's just that your neighborhood or your home may not necessarily have waterfront property. And we're not talking about waterfront property on the main body. It could be off of the main body down any one of the fingers that come off of Geist. So many homes and neighborhoods actually connect to Geist Reservoir through those little channels. So you can own a home in the Geist District and not have waterfront property, and you could even have a home in the Geist District, and if you want access to the water, you could potentially have that. There are a number of lots and a number of homes that have deeded dock access. So while your home might not be on the water, you might have a path that you could walk down and actually get to your deeded boat dock, or you could go to a location like I'm at here right now. There are very few of them, honestly, and they've got a little parking lot, and then you could have a deeded boat dock in a place like this. But that means you're going to have to, of course, leave your house and drive or walk or ride your bike to get to your boat. But outside of that, if you're still interested in living in the Geist District, you can, and not worry about water access whatsoever. There are plenty of homes that are in this particular district or very close to the reservoir that are still relatively inexpensive. It kind of just depends on what side of the reservoir you're on, what zip code you're in, and what county you're actually in. So if you're in Marion County or Hamilton County or even in some of Hancock County, you can get some of the super hyper expensive homes that are right on the main body of the lake or just off of the main body into some of the fingers, where you can of course get into multi-million-dollar homes. You can get homes that are 1.2, 1.7, 2.2, just kind of depends on where they are on the water. Unbelievably nice homes, of course. Some have been heavily renovated, some not so much. Some maybe are built in the 80s and look a little bit like they're still in the 80s or even the 90s, but some have been heavily renovated and completely updated. But those homes are going to be expensive. But going away from the reservoir, half a mile, mile and a half, something like that, you could still be considered in Geist, and you could get into a home for under $300,000. But again, it depends on where that is, because it does span 3 counties, 5 zip codes, and 3 school districts, amazingly. So we've worked with plenty of people in the past that want to live in the Geist District, but they have a school preference, at least a school system preference. So we have Lawrence schools, we have Hamilton Southeastern, which comprises all of Fishers, and there are 2 high schools there actually, and even Lawrence has 2 high schools. But then you get over into Hancock County and you're looking at Mount Vernon schools. So you could find the perfect house either on the water or on one of the fingers that come off of the lake, or even someplace in that particular area, and think this is great, this is right where I want to be, but it's not in the school district that you want to be in. So let's say that home is in Fishers, but you wanted to be in Mount Vernon School District on the east side. So you have to watch out for that whenever you're searching for a home in Geist. But all around the reservoir, when you're looking at the homes, it's kind of difficult to tell the difference whether you're in Lawrence or you're in Fishers or even on the east side when you get into McCordsville, which is where the Mount Vernon School District is. So really nice options on every single side of the reservoir. But if you live on the west side and you work in Indianapolis, your commute is something to consider for sure, because getting around in Geist is a little different than in the city of Indianapolis, or for that matter, really any of the suburbs, especially when you get further west in Fishers or into Carmel. A lot of the streets, they run east, west, north, south, and it's fairly easy to get around. Geist, the topography here, it's wooded around the reservoir, the roads are curvy, it's kind of some rolling terrain, some rolling hills, so you don't have a whole lot of straight shots. And in fact, there's really only 2 ways that you can get across the reservoir. So if you're on the west side, you're already on the Indianapolis side. And your commute to Indianapolis, if that's where you work, it may not be that bad, but you're limited in your options as far as your roads. So the traffic can get a little bit nasty early in the morning and then a rush hour in the evening. But if you're on the east side of the reservoir, you have to cross the reservoir to get to Indianapolis, or you have to go around it, either to the north up toward Fishers and through Fishers, or you have to go to the south side and down into Lawrence and Indianapolis and access Indianapolis that way. So it's definitely something to consider if you want to be in the Geist District. Now, no matter what side of the reservoir you live on, you're always, even though it doesn't feel like you're necessarily really close to a lot of amenities and things that you might need, like a grocery store or little shops, restaurants, things like that, but you are fairly close. There are all kinds of little pockets around the reservoir that have these small villages, and it's not like they're incredibly large, but they might have a grocery store, they might have a coffee shop, they might have a restaurant or 2, some places that you can actually go and access fairly fast. So the Geist District is enormously popular, and you can see just from some of this video here as to why that is. But if it's something that interests you, you like this topography, or you're interested in living in Indianapolis, but you kind of want that lake life, or maybe you want a second home that's along a lake, Geist definitely could be a great place for you. Very residential. You don't have a whole lot of public access to Geist. There's really only 1 public boat ramp, and it does get pretty crowded on the weekends all through the summer, especially some of the holidays like Memorial Day weekend, July 4th, Labor Day. It gets pretty packed. So extremely residential. You do have that going for you, and lots of options here. So if it's something that you like, and if you have questions about it, make sure you reach out to us. And until the next one, we will see you guys later.